Elena's heart thudded. She thought of the stairs earlier in the mall, the way even one cruel glance could unravel her confidence. Could Adrian be telling the truth? Or was this an elaborate lie? "Why should I trust you?" she asked, her voice sharp despite the trembling in her chest. Adrian reached into his jacket and pulled out something small, a photo. It was of him, years younger, in a shimmering gown, smiling nervously at the same masquerade ball. "Because I know what it cost me when I trusted the wrong person," he said softly. "And because I see in you the chance to make it further than I did." For a moment, Elena didn't know what to say. Then footsteps echoed from the shadows. Mia emerged, arms crossed. "So this is what you didn't tell me." Her eyes flicked to Adrian, suspicious. "Who is this guy, and why is he pulling you into cloak and dagger meetings?" Elena froze between them, torn. Trust Adrian, the masked stranger who claimed to understand her? Or listen to Mia, the friend who had been her anchor through everything? The fountain gurgled, and the air seemed to hold its breath, waiting for her choice. The courtyard felt like a stage, and Elena stood in the spotlight between two opposing forces. On one side was Mia, her trusted friend, arms folded, protective and sharp-eyed. On the other was Adrian, cloaked in mystery, offering truths that sounded too raw to be fabricated. "I asked you a question," Mia said firmly, her gaze locked on Adrian. "Who are you really? And why are you sneaking around with my friend?" Adrian didn't flinch. "I already told Elena. I'm someone who understands. Someone who knows how dangerous this world can be for people like us." He lifted his mask slightly, just enough to show his jawline and a faint scar across his cheek. "I'm not your enemy." Mia narrowed her eyes. "Convenient story. You swoop in, feed her a dramatic warning, and expect us to believe you." Elena felt her breath quicken. Both of them were speaking to her, but neither was wrong. Mia's caution made sense. She had been her anchor all along. Yet Adrian's presence stirred something deeper, a vision of what she could become if she dared. "I don't know who to believe," Elena admitted, her voice shaking. "Mia, you've been here from the start. Adrian, you're telling me things that feel too real to ignore." Adrian stepped closer, lowering his tone. "Then don't choose blindly. Test me. Tomorrow night, there's a gathering. A safe place for people like us. Come and you'll see I'm telling the truth." Mia scoffed. "A gathering? That's how people get trapped, Elena. Don't you see? He's luring you into something." Adrian's jaw tightened, but he didn't argue. Instead, he pressed a folded card into Elena's hand. "You'll know where to find it if you decide. Midnight. But come alone." With that, he turned and melted back into the shadows, leaving the faint echo of his footsteps. Elena stared at the card. A single address was written in elegant script. No name, no details. Mia grabbed her hand. "Elena, listen to me. This is how people get hurt. He's not your friend. He's a stranger who knows your secret, and that gives him power." Elena's chest burned with the weight of decision. Part of her longed to toss the card into the fountain and never look back. But another part whispered, what if he's telling the truth? What if there really is a place where you belong? Mia squeezed her hand. "Promise me you won't go." Elena met her eyes, but didn't answer that night. Elena couldn't sleep. The crimson gown lay draped across the chair, the wig resting neatly beside it, both reminders of how much she'd changed in a single evening. But the real weight pressed against her chest, the card with Adrian's address. She turned it over and over in her hands. Each time she thought about throwing it away, she imagined what he'd said. "There are others here tonight. Some of them look for people like us." What if he was right? What if Mia, for all her loyalty, couldn't understand the hidden dangers? The next morning, Mia came over with bagels and iced coffee. She acted like nothing had happened, but Elena could see it in her eyes, concern mixed with a trace of disappointment. "So," Mia said carefully about last night, "you're not thinking of actually going to that address, right?" Elena hesitated. I don't know." Mia sighed, setting down her coffee. "Ethan," she stopped herself, then corrected, "Elena. You don't owe him anything. He showed up in a mask, gave you a story and a scar, and now you're considering following him into some secret meeting." Elena fiddled with the card. "But what if it's real? What if there is a safe place? You saw how I felt last night. For the first time, I wasn't hiding. What if this is the next step? Mia frowned, torn between protectiveness and the realization that she couldn't cage Elena's curiosity. By evening, the decision still gnawed at her. Elena dressed in ordinary clothes, but the card remained in her pocket, pulsing like a second heartbeat. At 11:45 p.m., she found herself pacing outside her dorm. The address wasn't far, a converted warehouse near the river. "Don't do it," she whispered to herself. "Don't." But her feet carried her anyway. The warehouse loomed ahead, its windows glowing faintly with amber light. Music drifted from within, low, rhythmic, almost magnetic. Elena paused at the door, nerves clawing at her stomach. Was she walking into safety or a trap? Before she could decide, the door creaked open. A woman in a sapphire gown stood there, her features soft, her smile warm. "You must be Elena," she said gently. "Adrian told us you might come. Welcome." Inside, the warehouse shimmered with candlelight. Dozens of people in gowns, suits, wigs, and masks filled the space, laughing, dancing, talking without fear. It wasn't a trap. It was real. But as Elena stepped further inside, a shadow moved in the corner. A figure she didn't recognize, watching her too intently, whispering to someone else. And suddenly, she wasn't sure whether she had just found belonging or walked into the most dangerous night of her life. The warehouse pulsed with life, a hidden world that felt both surreal and intoxicating. Elena had never seen so many people like her gathered in one place, people free of judgment, wrapped in gowns and tuxedos, wigs and glittering masks, laughing without a care. For the first time, she didn't feel like an outsider sneaking into a role. She felt like part of something bigger. The woman in sapphire led her deeper inside. "I'm Seraphine," she said with a welcoming smile. "This is more than just a party, Elena. It's a sanctuary." Elena's breath caught. The word hit her with unexpected force. Sanctuary. That was exactly what she'd been searching for. Adrian appeared from the crowd, mask now removed. His scar caught the candlelight, but his expression was calm. "You came," he said softly. "I knew you would." Before Elena could respond, Mia's warning replayed in her head. Don't trust him too quickly. Still, she followed as Adrian introduced her to others, artists, students, professionals, each with their own story of living double lives. Some had been cast out by family, others had found love and community here. Each person greeted her with warmth that unsettled her in the best way. But the warmth didn't erase the chill at the back of her neck. The figure she'd noticed earlier lingered in the corner, half hidden in the shadows. He wasn't laughing, wasn't mingling, just watching. His eyes, sharp and calculating, never left her. Seraphine leaned close, following Elena's gaze. "Ignore him. Every gathering attracts a skeptic or two. He's harmless." But Elena wasn't convinced. Hours passed in a blur of dancing, stories, and laughter. For the first time, she let herself move without fear. The gown swirled as she twirled, the music carrying her higher. She felt free. Until the lights flickered. The crowd fell into a hush as the doors at the far end of the warehouse slammed shut. The man from the shadows stepped forward at last, his mask stark white, his presence commanding. Adrian stiffened beside her. "Not him," he muttered under his breath. The stranger's voice rang out, cold and deliberate. "Enjoy your sanctuary while it lasts. Secrets don't stay hidden forever." The room rippled with unease. Elena's chest tightened as she realized this wasn't just a skeptic. This man knew something. And whatever it was, he intended to use it. The music stopped. Conversations froze mid-sentence. Every eye in the warehouse turned toward the man in the stark white mask. His words hung in the air. Secrets don't stay hidden forever. Elena's stomach knotted. The warmth of belonging she'd felt moments ago evaporated, replaced by a crawling dread. Adrian stepped forward, his tone steady but firm. "You don't belong here. Leave before you regret it." The masked man tilted his head, amused. "Oh, Adrian. Always playing protector. You think these people are safe just because you hide them in shadows." He turned slowly, his gaze sweeping the crowd. I know things. About all of you. And people outside these walls would pay to know them too. Gasps rippled through the gathering. Someone whispered, he's bluffing. Another hissed, how did he find us? Elena's pulse hammered in her ears. Was he lying? Or had he been watching, gathering information? She glanced at Seraphine, who had gone pale, her hands trembling at her sides. Why are you doing this? Elena blurted out, surprising even herself. The man's gaze snapped to her. His voice softened, unsettlingly calm. Because masks are meant to be removed. And people like you, people living in between, make the most dramatic reveals. The words sliced into her. People like you. He knew. Adrian moved quickly, positioning himself in front of Elena. You won't touch her. The man chuckled low, unshaken. Brave words from someone who's already lost once. The air grew tense, thick with fear and suspicion. Some members of the sanctuary edged toward the doors, while others closed ranks around Seraphine and Adrian. But Elena's eyes stayed locked on the man in white. Something in his posture, the way he savored the fear, told her he wasn't bluffing. He had leverage and he meant to use it. She felt Mia's warning echo inside her. He's not your friend. He has power now. Adrian leaned close, whispering so only she could hear. We can't let him leave with this threat. If he walks out that door, everything we've built here collapses. Elena swallowed hard. She wasn't sure who was more dangerous, Adrian with his desperate determination, or the stranger with his venomous calm. But one thing was certain, she couldn't stay silent. Elena, Seraphine said urgently, her voice trembling, you need to decide. Do we confront him, or do we disappear before he destroys us all? Every face turned toward her. The newest member of the sanctuary. The outsider. The one whose choice suddenly carried the weight of everyone's fate. Every eye in the warehouse bore down on Elena. She had been here for only one night, yet somehow the weight of the sanctuary's survival rested on her shoulders. Her mind raced. If we confront him, he could expose us. If we run, we lose everything this place means. But if we do nothing, he wins anyway. Her pulse thundered in her ears. And then, almost instinctively, she stepped forward. Stop hiding behind riddles, Elena said, her voice carrying farther than she expected. If you really know who we are, say it. Out loud. Right now. The man in the white mask froze, the smirk slipping just slightly. Gasps rippled through the room. Adrian shot her a look of alarm. Elena, don't. But she pressed on, her voice sharper. You claim to hold our secrets, but you're bluffing. If you had real proof, you would have used it already. Instead, you're here fishing for fear. Well, you picked the wrong night. For a moment, silence blanketed the room. Then, murmurs began, small, tentative, but growing. She's right. He hasn't shown anything. He's just trying to scare us. The masked man's posture stiffened. His eyes, burning from behind the porcelain white mask, locked onto Elena's. For the first time, he looked unsettled. You're clever, he said slowly. But clever doesn't mean safe. You'll regret underestimating me. He turned sharply and pushed through the crowd. No one stopped him, but this time, people weren't shrinking away in fear. They were watching him leave with narrowed eyes, whispering with new defiance. The heavy doors slammed behind him, leaving only the echo. Elena let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. The sanctuary burst into applause. Seraphine clasped Elena's hands, her face glowing with relief. You saved us tonight. If you hadn't spoken, he would have walked away with all our power. Instead, you turned it back on him. Adrian gave her a slow nod of respect. You took a risk. A dangerous one. But you were right, he had nothing but intimidation. For now. The words for now sent a shiver down her spine. But as the crowd celebrated, Elena felt something stirring deep inside. Not just relief, not just adrenaline. Something bigger.